New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
From the New Thought Media Network, this is the Conscious Reality Show with your host, Sarah Stevens-Nichols, where conversation plus intention reveals a new reality. Every week, Sarah and her guests will discuss what they know and what they don't. Experimenting in front of everyone with what else is possible. I'm Sunny Childs, and here is your host, Sarah Stevens-Nichols.
Thank you, Sunny. And hello, everyone, and welcome to the Conscious Reality Show. I'm so excited to be here today. It's going to be an amazing day, and we have an incredible guest on. So you definitely want to watch every bit of it, because actually, as our incredible guest probably saw, she and Access Consciousness, which she comes from, have definitely influenced a lot of the framing and creation of this show, because it has absolutely changed my life. And I'm going to get into that more in a minute. I just got back from 2 weeks in the Philippines with my family, jumping around on waterfalls and beaches and doing crazy, crazy stuff. That's me about to go backwards over a waterfall. How does it get better than that? And it was so fun to be healthy and strong and delighted in a whole different part of the world. And then I got back here and had a sinus infection, and I'm healing from that right now. The first step is healing myself, actually. And so that brings me to my upcoming class slash support group for the year, Healer, Heal Thyself, third Tuesdays of the month. This is where those of us, a lot of my friends, a lot of my people are engaged in the healing profession, and we're going to reveal our own healing, do our own work so that we can show up fully and not take on other people's stuff and be in our own reality and create that with ourselves and others. So that's going to be wonderful. And you can register for that on the Center for Spiritual Awareness website, which is on the crawl there. And yeah, it's filling up. It's going to be great. You can drop in every month, but you can also come for the whole year for half the price. So do that. And speaking of healing, let's turn our attention to Southern California for a second. And Sunny, if you could take down Julia's slide for 1 second, and we'll just, there have been these raging fires in Southern California and evacuations, and a lot of people in harm's way right now. So just reconnecting with the only thing that's ever happening here, the one heart, the one mind, the one infinite presence, all knowing, all powerful, all loving, all redeeming, all delivering. I know that this infinite power of the one is living out its perfect life as me today. And as I know that for me, I know that for everyone in Southern California. And I speak my word for I speak my word for what else is possible there, and how does it get better than that? For ease and protection and also nothing to be protected from, just allowing the winds to shift, to move elsewhere, allowing the rains to quench, allowing the beautiful energy of the earth to contribute to ease in that whole region, and allowing new possibilities for how we treat our planet and our reality right now. And I know that every single being down there is an infinite being of light and love and safe in and ease. And so that everything that is swirling around them simply passes through them and it returns to original source of light and love, and that all is well. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Spirit. Blessings, blessings, blessings. I know that it is good and very good and done and very done. And so I release my word into that part of consciousness that we call the law, where I come from. And so it is. Amen. All right. Now let's get to Julia Sotas Mattis, who has been actually she and Access Consciousness, which she was one of the almost the introductory teacher for me, have influenced me a lot as a science of mind, new thought minister. There is a lot of overlap with Access Consciousness, and there's different stuff that it has brought me that has allowed a lot of possibilities into my life. I first encountered Julia about 9 years ago when our mutual friend acquaintance Katie Rubin brought us together on a class of how to become money workbook, and then some wild class, I don't even know what Julia called it. Wait, I looked it up. Questions. It was daily questions, which made insane stuff happen in my life. The daily ask, all these questions every day. Do you remember that, Julia? And then 30 days, hi, Julia. And then 30 days of energy pulls, and which I have kept doing. You know, I have those recordings and I just keep doing them and doing them. Every time I have anything stuck in my life, I go back to that. And then since then, I've got an exposure to Dr. Dane and all sorts of other teachers in Access Consciousness. But Julia, I come back to over and over again, this beautiful young spirit who is changing the world and creating a new reality, and showed me how to create a new reality and taught me those words. So welcome, Julia. Yay!
That's awesome. Thank you. That was such a great introduction. Thank you so much.
Was that a trip down memory lane?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
it was a trip down memory lane, and it just made me just be excited about all the different directions that consciousness goes. It's awesome.
Isn't it great? Yeah. And here we are. And you've got a big week. It seems, I don't know if every week feels like a big week to you, or if none of them do, because you don't really label it big or not. But I noticed that you have a lot of stuff starting this week.
I do. I have a lot going on this week, actually. Right at the top of the next hour, I'm excited because I'm starting a clearing statement class, which Access Consciousness clearing statement is, as you know, it's just one of the most powerful tools. Like if there's anything I ever want to change, or there's anything that I need to make work that's not working, it's like, I'm like, okay, let's just do clearing statements on it. And so I love them. And so I'm doing 100 clearing statements per day on exponentially expanding business. So I'm excited. That's what's coming right up next. The first of all the different things going on this week. So.
Oh, that sounds great. You recently did, that just makes me think of, you recently did a little class, a little item on how many structures am I using to avoid the business that I'm choosing. And I have been doing that clearing every day for several months. And oh my God, even after like 2 days, maybe even 1 day of it, all this stuff opened up in my in my professional life. I think that's when I first got a call from a publisher that they were going to publish my book, then, other stuff. And then this show, I think, manifested right out of that.
Wow,
too. So,
yay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. It's just
so you're the queen.
Just everything is just, gosh, there's just alternative magical ways of doing everything. And we just need to learn them and do them. And everything becomes possible in life. It's just wonderful.
Yeah. I love your backstory because you're, from this province in Canada that is cold and no one in the US even knows exists. And then you just came out of that and got exposed to Access, right? And then all of a sudden your whole life changed is my sense.
Yes.
Is that right? Or am I making that up?
You're not making it up. That's the perfect synopsis. You're like just great with you have the total energy of all of it. And my mom introduced me to Access, actually.
Did she?
She did. Fantastic. Yeah. Like when I was 2 years old, like I came in and I was like, I want to do something different this lifetime. Like I was like, I am ready to rock it. So when I was 2, my mom became a Reiki master, and she would always take me along to the classes, like in a lady's basement in like a city that was 3 hours away. And I just love the energy. And my mom's Reiki master gave me 2 Reiki stones that I still have when I was 2. Wow. And I just I was like into it at 2. Like I knew what was going on and I was into it. And I loved the energy and I loved what they were creating. And then I was just sort of very existential, like in terms of thinking at 4 or 5 years old, like, if I turn left right now, probably didn't even know what left and right was. I was just like, if I go over there, is that my fate and my destiny? Or did I actively make that choice? And I was just thinking those things just right from the start. So
wow.
I was always so into like, how do you make life work and how do you go beyond normal reality into consciousness, into enlightenment, into a different possibility?
Yeah. And so then were you one of I know that there are Access consciousness, like kids and teens that get exposed to stuff about how you could, I don't know. I remember hearing something about being a superhero and like that every kid is a superhero, and in the sense that we're all weird and we all have our own normal things. Sunny, the voice of God, our producer, is a life-changing high school teacher. So she knows about the superheroes that kids are like crazy. But like, were you in all that, or did you get into Access when you were literally a teen, or did your mom just tell you about these things and then you ended up as an adult getting into it?
Well, my mom, as soon as my mom found it, she sent it to me. So she like wasn't doing it without me, but
she passed it over. I see. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like, I mean, when I was 13, I was reading The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, and my mom had read The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, which is just such a great book. I think I was like 8, and I didn't read it until I was maybe 12 or 13, but like she came to me and when I was like 8 or 9, and she was like, I read this book and it basically taught me that we as beings, or whatever word she used, know everything. We have access to all the knowledge in the universe, every dimension, every reality, everything that ever could have been in any way. All we have to do is access it. So what an awesome thing for a mom to empower her kid with at 8 years old. Yeah. And so like, I wasn't doing Access, but like, I had this empowerment of like, okay, I just need to access what I know. And so I would like, that shaped my life and framed the way that I thought about things. It wasn't like, I don't know. It was like, okay, so how do I find the knowing? If
I do know, how do I find it? Yeah. Which is literally what my book is about.
Amazing. Exactly. Yeah. That's amazing. And it's so empowering. And then when I was like, in my teens, I was like drinking and partying while reading Deepak Chopra and Eckhart Tolle at the same time. It was fun. I had a good life.
That's great.
And and then I was 19 when my mom sent me my first radio show about
Okay.
access. So I was like I was in year 2 of college.
A young adult. Yeah.
Yeah.
At University of Winnipeg, as I recall.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yay.
And I felt so like, as even though I'd done a lot of stuff, none of it was for me as powerful as access. So I still felt really like locked out of things energetically, and like there was a life and a world going on, an energy, something I wanted, something very powerful that I was disparate from, that I was disconnected from, that I wanted to be connected to. And then when I found access, I was like, after a couple of years of using the tools, I felt completely connected and in the flow of what I was looking for. And I was so thrilled.
And now you are raising children, right?
Yeah.
And a stepmom of 3 kids, is it?
Yeah.
Wow. So I've heard you refer to these people as the most potent beings on the planet, children generally. I don't know about if it's your children or not. Are you still learning from them all the time?
Yeah. I mean, I was 23 when I became their stepmom, which was crazy. Like bananas. But I was mature. I'd already run my own business for 4 years and was successful and had traveled to like at least 20 countries by that time. Like I knew how to run a business. I was facilitating people who were in their 70s and 80s as a 20-year-old kid. And so it was like, to do that was actually quite normal.
Yeah. And you had your own mixing bowls, as I understand it. You had your own set of mixing bowls by that time, which is a real sign that you're ready to keep house.
Yes, I did. I was like, okay,
that's how my daughter is too.
She loves like nesting and kitchen.
Except she's traveling around the world for a year, so I don't know if she's not nesting too much. But anyway, so you got there, and
Well, and when my husband was, my now husband, he was not my husband at the time, when he helped me move into an apartment in Vancouver when we were just dating for a few months. And there was like no sense that I was going to marry him or become a stepmom. Like I'm this little kid, and not really, but I was, I was so young. And at my 16th birthday, my mom threw me this big sweet 16 party, and there were like 40 people there, and everybody brought me gifts. And she told everybody to bring me nice kitchen stuff for when I moved out. And so I had like a gorgeous KitchenAid mixer that my mom and dad had got me for that birthday, and nice like dishcloths and tea towels and mixing bowls and electric mixers and all kinds of things. So it was like, I was like totally set up. It all got stored in the basement from when I was 16 to when I was 18. And then as soon as I moved into my college dorm, which had a full kitchen, I had everything. My full kitchen.
That's hilarious.
When my husband was moving me into my Vancouver apartment, he held the KitchenAid mixer and was like, I'm so sad that my daughter will never have anybody to teach her these kinds of things, And then we were married a year later. 10 months later. We were married 10 months later. We got married really fast because I needed to get my green card. So we're like, all right, here we go.
Instant family.
Yep.
Well, and speaking of which, I know one of the things that you have an ongoing membership in, and maybe they're meeting this month, is the Trophy Wife club, or I don't know what you call it, but why would anyone want to be a trophy wife? And how do I relate to that? How do I relate to that as an old lady who's already married? Why would I want to be I'm already pretty darn lucky.
Mm-hmm. Well, trophy wife is sort of it's not a joke.
It's a joke, but it's a great.
Yeah.
It's like, it's provocative. Really, yeah.
Exactly. It's provocative. It's fun. And it's really about receiving and not needing to do everything on your own and be an independent woman. Doesn't need a man who thinks men are oppressive, and and some men are oppressive and some women are oppressive. And so it's really this thing of what if you could really receive from everybody in your life? What if you could receive from the man in your life who, if he is a kind and caring person, which if you chose him, I hope that he is, if you're with somebody who's kind and caring and wants to contribute to you, why are so many women not receiving from the men in their lives, from their husbands, financially, energetically? Why
emotionally,
are they
sexually,
emotionally, like, and for me, it was really my own self-facilitation from Gary Douglas. Well, from Gary Douglas that turned into a self-facilitation, which was like, he said, he was telling this story about how he was meeting with these lawyers and he said some very provocative things. And I said, why did you say those provocative things? And he said, because I wanted these lawyers to know not to treat me like a normal person. I wanted to set the scene so that they knew I wasn't normal. Don't do normal with me. And I said, well, how do I get people to treat me like I'm not normal? How do I set the scene? And he said, when people ask you what you do for work, say, oh, I'm a trophy wife. And I was like, gross. No, like I had so many judgments.
Yeah.
and you know,
and that's a clue. Anything where you have that many judgments about it is a rich area to mine, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And so that's what my teachings are and everything. So I'm constantly, I want to walk my talk, you know, I don't want to just say things and teach people things. I need to be it if I'm going to facilitate people on it. So I really had to go into, it was a lot. Like, I grew up around, not my mother, but my grandmother was especially vicious towards her husband her whole life. It was really ugly. And I took on some of those traits because I wanted to be like her. She was like, you can be a great grandmother and be a horrible wife, which she was. You know, I wanted to be just like her. And so I took on a lot of her negative traits too. So that was also part of being a trophy wife, was like not being so hard on my husband, which was which was a whole thing I had to, you know, we have to look at the evil of ourselves. We have to look at the mean things that we're doing. We have to look at the ugly and have allowance for that too. And I think that's a great strength.
For me, it was like, but I can see how this relates to trophy wife as well. I always say that I got into really looking at spiritual work and what else is possible. I realized at that time I thought I was living with an asshole who was really critical of me. And it turned out I was, and that asshole was me. And I was kind of hiring my husband to reflect the internal criticism that I had, and then blaming him for that. And then I fired him, right? I just fired the critic part of it. And it stopped happening as I was let go of all the judgments I had of myself. Then I was able to receive this amazing man that I was living with. And I always wonder, I mean, he's the most fantastic person in the world. And we have this amazing, amazing marriage. And ever since then, I wonder how many people are living with someone another way to put it would be where they already are a trophy wife, but they have no idea that they are. You know, they already are cherished. They already are supported. They already are loved. This is actually what we teach in the Centers for Spiritual Living, is that we've already received everything we're going to receive, but we have to actually receive it.
Yes, exactly. That's such a great way of putting it. And that was the thing. Like, I had the exact same thing going on that you were just describing, and I think pretty much everyone does. And in Access, we call it a gate master. You know, it's a new term. So it's like,
oh yeah, I'm now familiar with that new term.
Yeah, so it's like,
I heard it, but I don't know what it means. Yeah.
So it's really cool because it's like, you're the corrupter and you're corrupting your husband, or were corrupting your husband into being your gate master. So everything good you can have, he's responsible. Everything bad, he's responsible.
Right.
But you are the one who corrupted him into being the gate master. So when you fire him as the gate master, as you did, and you stop wanting to be the corrupter, and we can do this with a lot of different things. Like you can corrupt your body into being a gate master. You can corrupt you don't corrupt money specifically, but money plays a role when we're corrupting our receiving, and we're corrupting what we can have, money becomes a
when we use money as the reason why we can't have it, and decide and blame money. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And so I mean, we're corrupting so many people and things into being our gate masters, and that's just such a great articulation of when are you a gate master? That's awesome. Is that the voice of God? Am I supposed to answer that?
That's the voice of God just puts those things up, and this is as good a time. Let me see. I forgot to check what live comments are coming through from our audience. I don't see any right at the minute.
This is the voice of God. This is the voice of God. Hi. I wasn't really asking you, Julia. I was asking our audience to consider it. But if you want to share, that would help me understand a little more.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like, where else? I mean, there's so many different examples of gate mastering. I mean, one of the things too, I actually just did a class on it, and I actually took some notes because there were a few ways of describing it that I just thought were so interesting. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find the notes though, but yeah, I have no idea where they are. But basically, it's like, oh, here it is. I did find it. It's this premise too that we create absolutely everything that shows up in our life, like the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if somebody is mean to you, you created that by corrupting them into being your gate master. And I also think that we have to be careful about this, because I don't want to dismiss or condone abuse, because sometimes that's not a gate mastering thing. Gate mastering happens in certain scenarios, but sometimes you grow up with an abusive family member and they abuse you. And yes, you created that. Yes, I believe we actually choose who our parents are going to be before we come in. But I also don't think that it works all the time to handle things with a gate master tool. Sometimes you have to use abuse clearings, which is a whole different ballgame. But for the most part, other than those extreme situations, we create absolutely everything that shows up in our lives. And so if you feel like, oh, this person is totally holding me back, no. You have corrupted them into being your gate master so that they can hold you back because you wanted to be held back. And a lot of people have the idea that they're a loser. A whole lot of people, whether they even cognitively realize it or not, have this program playing in the back. I'm a loser. I'm a loser. I'm less than. Other people are more successful than me. I'm a loser. And then we'll corrupt all situations in our lives, everything that surrounds us, to validate the point of view that we're a loser. So if you can be aware of this, it's just awesome. It's so incredibly.
How do you separate that from systemic oppression that then smacks of blaming the victim? You talk about it in terms of being born into a family that might have an abusive parent, but circumstances in our society in the past or today mean that certain groups have been marginalized and oppressed. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering how you reconcile that with, I got to clear this stuff and change it up.
Yeah.
Well, I think that we don't want to ignore those historic issues.
No. I think too that it's the microcosm and the macrocosm. If we heal it in ourselves and handle it in ourselves, that is going to ripple out and change the world. So if we just focus on not just focus on ourselves, but other people, have choice, the marginalized have choice, victims have choice. And I'm not particularly like, I'm a Republican, and that's not where I'm coming from with any of this. Like, everybody has their own whatever, da da da. You know, my political points of view are very mixed, and I don't even think that they can fall into one category or another. But I do believe that all beings have choice, and the more that we empower ourselves, that ripples out and changes the world in ways that we cannot even imagine. And so it's like, I think that people sometimes don't value, well, actually, people never value how much what they are doing in their day-to-day lives and the choices that they're making, how powerful that can be, how much that can impact the world. Yeah, I like that hashtag, see your choices. So it's like, if you want to change the world, make your life an amazing place to live. And people will see that and be inspired by that and be empowered by that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very easy to say, okay, well, what about people who are starving in other countries? And it's like, you know, you can also ask, what can I be to change this? You know, what contribution, what gift can I be? And either you'll start being a particular energy, or you will start having ideas about things you could do or actions you could take. But I think that sometimes we get a little bit lost in the problems of the world, and then we don't, like, it brings our life down, rather than, I'm going to create this amazing life and then I'm going to contribute to the world. So I don't know if that directly answered your question, but that's kind of the best way that I can think of it.
Thanks, Julia. We're going to take a break and acknowledge our sponsor, but when we get back, maybe also the voice of God, our producer, Sunny Childs, can put up a link to a document I created that has frequently asked questions about access consciousness that I answer, that especially from the many people who follow me, who come from sort of the more metaphysical and law of attraction kind of world, Centers for Spiritual Living, Science of Mind. What are the differences? What are the intersections? Cool. Things like that. So you could put that up and people can use that as a way to navigate if they're coming from that land. And if they're coming from Julia's access consciousness land, they already will understand a lot of that stuff, but they also might be interested in the interactions too. So
cool.
New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
I will just say that though I love New Thought Media Network and its statement, and also Science of Mind and the Centers for Spiritual Living that we're all affiliated with in that, one of the things I learned from New Thought, from Access Consciousness, that is in that document that I created in the FAQs about it, is that when we're constantly focusing on the positive, we can be pushing against that and also sort of creating the negative at the same time, and we get trapped in polarities. And one of the things that Access is great at is clearing polarities, clearing places where we're pushing for the positive, and then the negative is like holding us in place, the opposite of that. So when we're yeah, and that's a way, just to relate to what you were just saying, to clear what I would call the collective consciousness. The collective consciousness currently allows for racism and poverty and environmental destruction and violence and war, right? And the appearance of genocide, and all of that is what is the collective consciousness is allowing. And to me, part of what we're about here is creating a new reality of those fixed constructs not being held in our minds as fixed constructs of reality. What else is possible? Kicks up, just that question alone is my favorite prayer. It kicks up a new reality. It kicks up curiosity. It kicks up an answer from the collective consciousness that is brand new. And in history, things can change very, very quickly.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, I'll notice that, okay, I have a limitation. I have something in like that I'm being or doing that's really not working, and that is really destructive to me and others. And so it's like, okay, what's it going to take to change this? You know, I go into a question about it.
Yeah.
And then I'll go into, okay, I'll get some awareness, and then I'll start using different tools to change it. And sometimes that can be really hard to do energetically, but that's because I'm shifting it for the world. You know what I mean? And the more of us that are doing this and are having the strength to use the tools of consciousness to overcome the unconsciousness in the world, it's just so incredibly powerful. And the things that I see opening up in the world as a result of more people choosing to become conscious are just mind-blowing, like miracles that are showing up as a result of people choosing to make greater choices and come out of the things that they're being and doing that are not working.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that Access and you have taught me is the Access consciousness, the concept of what is light for you, and just dialing into the energy of any choice, and is it light or is it heavy and constricted? And when I first started using that tool, I think it was Katie Rubin who was telling me about that. I could not get it because I was sure that what as a good little girl, growing up trying to be a good girl, I was sure that I had to always do what I should do, that I should always do what I must do, what society or my family or being a good little girl concept was demanding of me. And that energy was actually very heavy and stuck. Should.
Yes.
And lightness, which is what Access Consciousness teaches me, is the real yes as to whether something is mine to do, is actually very empty and light and spacious. And it's like huge, and it is not at all constricted or shouldy. And I could not see that as a yes for the longest time. It was really hard.
Yeah.
But now I do. Now that's my yes.
Yeah. It's a really avant-garde, wild thing to do, to start living based on the energy of things rather than the rightness or the wrongness of things.
Yeah.
You know,
do you ever find that if you say yes to everything that is light for you, that you end up too busy? How does that work for you?
No.
That's what I've been curious about.
Yeah. No, I don't. My life is just like stupidly easy. Like, it's weird. I don't know how it is, but I do, because there's no logic, but it is just so much ease. Like,
So even though you're facilitating and traveling around the world and raising children all at the same time, it's easy?
Yeah. Like, so
wow.
It's so weird, but it's just the energy. Hold on, I'm going to move my light here too. I think the sun is.
I saw your light, and then I realized I hadn't turned on my light. Yeah.
Yeah, the sun is like coming in there. That's a little better. But like, No, like really literally. Like I don't even realize how easy things are for me sometimes. I went on this 3-week trip recently, and I went with my husband and then two of my really close friends, one who's from Australia, one who's from Toronto, Israeli lady from Toronto, and we're super close. And it was such a magical trip. We went to some Access Consciousness classes. The first week was in Budapest, the second week was in Rome, Italy, and the third week was in Houston, Texas. So we went on this whirlwind 3-week trip in 3 different countries. And you know, booking plane tickets, booking accommodation, figuring out everything that we want to do and all the currencies and the classes and the money and just everything. And I was talking to a friend, and she was like, how do you plan? Because I like handled most of the logistics. And she's like, how do you do all of that? Like I couldn't even, she's like I can't, like the most I could manage in my life is like going on like a 5-day trip,
Yeah.
probably in the country. And I was just like, huh? Because it's just things just come when you follow the lightness and you follow the energy. I mean, we got this Airbnb in Rome that was the one of the top 5% of, it had like this badge, like top 5% of Airbnbs, and it was right next to the American ambassador's house in this like the Beverly Hills of Rome. And
Right. Wow.
great price, and it was like it was decorated with like expensive like stuff that you don't put in a vacation rental. Like it was so out of this world beautiful, and our host was so lovely. He was like letting us borrow his car if we needed it, letting us, feeding us, like just things. But it's like when you contribute to consciousness, consciousness contributes to you in practical ways. It's not like, oh, I'm out in the backyard under the moon dancing around naked feeling the energy of the universe. I feel the energy of the universe in a non-practical way and in all the practical ways. It's like I'm taken care of by the universe. I'm a trophy wife of the universe. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a word that I love, causated, and causated is like, the daughter of a rich lord or something. It's somebody who's really taken care of and looked after. And I feel so causated, so taken care of by the universe. But I'm also taking care of the universe with my choices. I'm doing my best to contribute to others, and really to contribute to myself. And as that, there's just more of me to kind of go around and to be able to facilitate. And it's weird how complicated my life would feel from the outside, but how easy it is from the inside. But it's all the tool you mentioned. If I choose this, is it light or heavy? For all of the accommodation, for all of the plane tickets, like I used to have delays. And so now when I'm searching through the flights, I go, truth, is that flight going to be delayed? Is that flight going to be delayed? So now I pick flights that are not going to be delayed. No delays. It's like amazing stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just scheduled, worked with our travel agent and scheduled this whole 2-week trip to the Philippines.
Yeah.
And I do not know how often I used light or heavy. I'm just like putting in my head. I did light or heavy on the whole trip, but I might not have done light or heavy on the individual choices within the trip. Although everything went incredibly well and it was an amazing trip. So, but it's good for me to notice that I'm often talking to people. I think it's actually from a standpoint of practice and getting a hang of this stuff, it's great to use it on lots of everyday choices, like little things, because then you practice with that. You see that it works. You see that you're attracting a new reality, creating a new reality, revealing a new reality. And then you want to do more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, our friend Tony is saying, when I contribute to others, I contribute to a new reality. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love this stuff and I have a lot of fun with it. And I have wild things that happen to me all the time as a result. So I love when you tell your stories too. But like, I got that it was light earlier this week for me to throw my hat in the ring to be a delegate for the California Democratic Party on this progressive slate. And I've never put so now I'm on the ballot for that, and part of a slate in Sacramento. And I was like, cool. why am I getting that's light? And why did that even come into my head? And why am I doing this? But then I started doing it, and all these other things started falling into place, like people contacting me from wherever, even though it's not like I sent out an email about it or did anything. All I did was sign up. So a lot of times it doesn't even require any kind of work necessarily, like that destroying and uncreating that idea that everything takes a lot of work and everything is really hard and everything requires me to spend hours and hours and hours making it happen is a lot of what I have really appreciated Access Consciousness tools for.
Totally.
Right, wrong, good,
and the
bad,
mantra of Access Consciousness, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just did muttered the clearing statement real quick.
Okay. Yeah. Like the mantra of Access Consciousness is all of life comes to me with ease and joy and glory. And the first part of that is ease. I mean, I think that's the first place where people need to start is what choice here is going to create the easiest outcome. And we do not like to do things the easy way. People do not like ease. People usually think that ease equals boredom, but it doesn't. It's actually, I've discovered that I didn't even know what ease was. And then I started finding out what it was by experiencing it. But conceptually, I had no idea what it really meant. And I'm still discovering it all the time. And one of my favorite books is called The Book of Allowance. It came out about a year ago. No, The Gift of Allowance. It's a little blue book. It's sitting on my couch over there, but I'm not going to get up and go get it because I want to keep talking to you guys. But it's a little blue book. And it's called The Gift of Allowance by Gary M. Douglas, who founded Access Consciousness 32 years ago. And it is such a good book. I highly recommend it to everybody. It's not the lightest read, but it's an energetic enema almost. Everywhere you're not an allowance. And everywhere you're not having.
Who doesn't love an enema?
Exactly. Who doesn't love an enema? So here's a conscious enema for you all. But I'm reading that book for the 4th time because it's hitting me on a completely different level every time that I read it. And it's a deep, complex book with great stories in it, though. And if you really want to create some major change and ease in your life, just reading that book will start to change the energy by which you function. It's almost like a energetic workbook. You don't have to really do anything except read it and let that energy in, and it's very transformative.
Love that. Does anything about Gift of Allowance or other stuff answer this question from one of our viewers? What about conflict between people? How do you handle that?
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is that we have to start looking at ourselves and where we are functioning from in order to handle conflict with others. Because Sarah told a great story about her and her husband earlier on. And I mean, I think that story just summed it right up. How when we stop believing in the wrongness of ourselves, we call in Access people who are different, people who are wacky, people who are weird, people like us who are looking for a different possibility, humanoids. And all humanoids, though, believe that they are somehow wrong and bad. And so we have to go on this journey if we want to truly have peace with others and stop conflict with others. We have to get to allowance for ourselves, for the good, the bad, and the ugly of ourselves.
Yeah.
And it feels like dying sometimes, especially like I've been doing Access for 14 years, and especially like when I first started really looking at the things that I was doing that were super mean and unkind to me, unkind to the people around me. And I mean, I'm not talking about on an obvious level. I'm talking about taking tweezers through the energetics of your life and really looking very honestly at the ugly and being present with it and not judging it, but also not going, oh, it's okay, not judging positively or negatively, and just sitting with, oh my God, I do this ugly shit, and with no judgment, and having the allowance for that. And there's tools we talk about in Access. That's a whole other class in itself that I can't get into in the next 2-3 minutes we have on this show. But I will say that if you can really get honest with where you're functioning, the good, the bad, and the ugly, if you can acknowledge the ugly, you can acknowledge the greatness and the magic that you are. And that's what people need to do. People need to be getting the magic of them, and people don't want that.
I thank you for saying that. I think a lot of people I know, including myself, are because we've judged ourselves so harshly and thought there's because I thought there's something wrong with me. One of the ways that I used to try to cover up there's something wrong with me was addiction, and being like into, covering up that pain with whatever food, activity, anything that could cover it up, right? And in 12-step recovery, you also are invited to see how you've been, and to be clear about how you've been in the past. But there can be this layer of like shame that comes up around that, and blame about having been that way. And the concept of allowance actually allows for a lot more spiritual healing. So it's, do that work, but then be able to just like allow it to, like, if that's how it was and that's how it is, and what else is possible, right? And go to the next thing. All right, well, speaking of what else is possible, we're gonna talk about next week now, and then we're gonna run the thing, and then we're gonna come back, and Julia and the Voice of God and I are gonna talk about how the show went. So stay on if you want to hear our little backstage comments. Next week's guest I'm very excited about, Evan Unruh, and knowing that he and his family are good in West LA. He is a trauma-informed coach, an award-winning commercial director, a workshop leader. He's like a life coach to the stars down in LA. He's a really cool and brilliant and fascinating guy. Can't wait for you to meet him next week. And then after that, we have Mark Anthony Lord, who is a social media sensation, teaches the Course in Miracles, and just absolutely like hilarious and dynamic. And he's another person who has changed my life entirely. And Marianne Williamson says she wants to be on the show, and we're figuring out how to bring her to you, even though she may not be able to be in this time slot. So stay tuned for all of that. Oh, wow. I have this course coming up, and I'm speaking in Bakersfield, which is actually the city I was born in. And I've never spent a night since we moved when I was 1 month old to Greece. So back to Bakersfield at the Center for Spiritual Living soon. Thank you, everybody. And let's go.
From the New Thought Media Network, this is the Conscious Reality Show with your host, Sarah Stevens Nichols. where conversation plus intention reveals a new reality. Every week, Sarah and her guests will discuss what they know and what they don't. Experimenting in front of everyone with what else is possible. I'm Sunny Childs, and here is your host, Sarah Stevens-Nichols.
Was that our outro or our intro? It doesn't matter. It's all the same. Sunny, you're muted, by the way. And hi, everybody. Well, how did you think that went, Julia? It was great to have you on. I thought it was wonderful.
Oh, me too. I love what you guys are doing here. It's just amazing.
Okay. Yeah, we're having a blast, I think. I keep thinking, there may only be, 5 to 10 people watching our show, but I'm having so much fun, it doesn't really matter, which can be true about anything. And of course, in and of itself is attractive.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And, there's just so much out there and so many different tools and different things that people can use to heal. And it's just really cool to see that you're bringing in all of these different things.
Hey, I see that you streamed it on Facebook as well as YouTube. I didn't even, I know theoretically we're supposed to be able to stream on Facebook, but I think our New Thought Media Network director convinced me that somehow it was too hard, but you just pushed a button and it happened.
Yeah, you just have to connect your Facebook page.
And we should probably start doing that then. I totally have a Facebook page. Yeah,
totally. It's great.
He said it was hard. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. You of course, everything is easy for you, so that's probably why it was easy.
It's not all roses and butterflies, but it's pretty amazing when you have great tools how you can navigate anything.
Sunny, what do you think of my Julia?
Oh no, I'm fascinated, and the energy coming off you is definitely one of ease. So, curiouser and curiouser, absolutely. The other question I had, which I don't think we'll have time to talk about, but maybe the next time you come, is if I would like you to talk more about the idea of, co-creating. Like, what is the difference between discovering what's light and moving towards consciousness and kind of imposing one's will?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. And I'll talk about it for a second here at the end of the show, but I think that it does change when other people are involved. And we have to be aware that we can't just be like spiritual assholes and be like, well, because the rising sun, told me this was light, then I'm just going to go do it and screw everybody else. You have to really be aware of what is my choice creating? And it's not what is my choice I was talking a lot about choosing for me and how that can create greater for everybody else. But that's sort of a simplified thing, because it's actually, what is this choice going to create for me and everybody around me and for the universe? It's like, if I want to, I don't know, do something.
That's such a good point.
Yeah, if I want to do something, but I know it's going to be super damaging to somebody I care about, I'm not going to do it, And
right.
so it's about, what is this choice going to create for me and the whole universe, really? But I think I was speaking about it in terms of how can I create for me? Because I think that we are so entrained to create for everybody else, to be empathic, to think about everybody else's suffering, to try to fix that, to try to heal that, to try to make everything else work for everybody else, rather than what can I create for me?
That's perfect.
That's fantastic.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you, Sarah. And I'm going to close this out now, and I'll see you soon.
All right.
Thanks to our guest, to host Sarah Stevens-Nichols, and to the New Thought Media Network. I'm Sunny Childs, producer of The Conscious Reality Show. Join us live next Wednesday at 9 a.m. or stream the show at your convenience. Subscribe to Conscious Reality Show YouTube channel so you never miss a show. If you'd like to learn more about us, check out www.sarahstevensnichols.com.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to hop off and hop on. Thank you. That was fun.
Take care.